My family disowned me after my ex's lies destroyed my life, but I fought back, rebuilt everything, and found real love. Look, I don't even know where to start. I've been lurking for years but never thought I'd be posting something like this. Sorry if it's all over the place. I haven't slept in like 36 hours. So, here's some background. I, a 26-year-old male, was dating this chick, a 25-year-old female, for about 3 years. We met in college and moved in together after graduation, the whole deal. I thought we were solid. She's smart, hot, and has this marketing job at some fancy firm. I was working at a healthcare company, making decent money, nothing crazy. I was working full-time while finishing my computer science degree online, with just 2 semesters left after 5 years of night classes. I had been juggling both since graduation, slowly chipping away at my education debt while building career experience. Things were actually pretty great for most of our relationship. I'm not going to pretend I was the perfect boyfriend, but I really tried, you know. I was the one who always remembered anniversaries, who surprised her with weekend trips, who stayed up all night helping her prep for big presentations. When her mom got sick last year, I drove her 3 hours each way every weekend for 2 months so she could visit. When she mentioned wanting to try CrossFit, ironically, I paid for a 6-month membership as her birthday present, even though it meant eating ramen for lunch so we could still make rent. I even sat through every episode of The Bachelor with her, and trust me, that's true love right there. I thought we were on the same page about everything, marriage eventually, maybe kids in a few years, saving for a house. We'd talk about our future all the time. I was literally about to drop 3 months' salary on a ring. I had it picked out and everything, planning to propose on our trip to Cancun next month. Non-refundable tickets, by the way, another $1,200 down the drain. Everyone, including her sister, who I was planning the proposal with, thought we were rock solid. I'd even started calling her parents mom and dad because they said I was already part of the family. Guess not. But last week, I noticed she'd been acting weird, always on her phone, working late, typical red flags. I'm not proud of this, but when she was in the shower, I checked her phone. I found hundreds of texts to this CrossFit instructor she'd been seeing, not just, hey, what's up texts either. We're talking full-on sexting with plans to meet up while I was at work. Turns out, they'd been sleeping together for months in our apartment, in our bed, while I was pulling overtime to save for a ring. FML. When I confronted her, I was bracing for the usual, tears, apologies, maybe something thrown at my head. What I wasn't expecting was a full-scale nuclear meltdown. I waited until she strutted in from girls' night, still giggling. Her lipstick was a shade I'd never seen before. Her makeup a little too perfect for just a casual night with friends. Hey, had fun? I asked, leaning against the counter. She beamed. Yeah, Melissa was so drunk it was hilarious. Melissa, the same pregnant friend who, last I checked, wasn't supposed to be taking tequila shots. I kept my voice calm. Huh, that's so. She kicked off her heels, completely oblivious. Yeah, she was a mess. I watched her carefully. So, anything you want to tell me? She paused, her fingers fumbling with her purse. What are you talking about? The smile didn't fully drop, but there was hesitation now, a flicker of something. Fear, maybe. I tilted my head. I don't know, maybe something about CrossFit Mike? Or should I call him Daddy, like you do in your texts? And just like that, the mask cracked. Her expression flipped from confused to furious in a blink. You went through my phone? What the witch? That's private. I let out a dry laugh. Privacy? Yeah, super important when you're screwing some guy in our bed. She opened her mouth, scrambling for words. It wasn't like that. We just what? I cut in. Accidentally fell on him multiple times for 3 months? Her face twisted with anger, and suddenly, I was the problem. This is exactly your issue. You're so controlling, always questioning me, always checking up on me. I scoffed. Oh, that's rich. I checked your phone once because you've been acting shady as hell. Don't even try to turn this on me. She crossed her arms, voice shaking but still defiant. You always do this, make me the bad guy. You've never trusted me. I pulled out my phone and held up the screenshots. Trust? Yeah, let's talk about that. Can't wait to feel you inside me again. Last night was amazing. My boyfriend's working late again, come over. And that's when love got weird. Instead of owning her love, I watched her transform right in front of me. Her eyes darted around the room like a cornered animal. Then something changed in her expression. I'll never forget it, like she'd made some terrible calculation in her head. Don't touch me, she whispered. What? I'm not even near you, I said. Don't touch me, she screamed, backing against the wall, like all the other times. I felt a chill run through my body. "What are you talking about?" Her voice got quiet, almost mechanical. "You know exactly what I'm talking about. The nights I said no and you didn't listen, the times you got aggressive when I wouldn't." Her voice cracked, and honest to God, actual tears started streaming down her face. This wasn't just lying, this was acting. A Broadway-level performance. "You're witching insane," I said, my voice shaking. "You're making this up because I caught you." "You forced yourself on me," she screamed so loud the neighbors must have heard, multiple times, and I have the texts to my friends proving it. My stomach dropped through the floor. "Texts? What texts?" "You've been gaslighting me for years," she continued, seeming to gain confidence with each word, making me think it was my fault, that I was crazy for feeling violated. I stood frozen, my brain unable to process what was happening. This woman I'd loved for 3 years was fabricating the worst possible story about me, and she was convincing. Later I'd learn the whole truth. She had more to lose than I realized. Her ultra-religious parents would have disowned her for cheating. She was up for a partnership track at her accounting firm, where she'd cultivated this perfect good girl image. And the dude she was banging? Her boss's a-hole nephew. So, rather than admit to being a cheating piece of garbage, she decided to destroy my life instead. Classic. The cops showed up at my apartment at 6:03 a.m. the next day. I know because I was staring at my alarm clock when the pounding started. I'd been awake all night, sick with anxiety, jumping at every sound in the hallway. "Police, open up!" I stumbled to the door in my boxers and a ratty t-shirt, heart hammering against my ribs. The moment I turned the lock, the door exploded inward, nearly breaking my nose. 3 cops rushed in, weapons drawn. "On the ground, get on the witching ground, now!" I dropped immediately. A knee drove into my back, forcing the air from my lungs. Cold metal handcuffs bit into my wrists, ratcheted so tight they cut off circulation. They dragged me into the hallway like that, disoriented, bleeding from my nose. My elderly neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, stood in her doorway in a bathrobe, hand over her mouth, the look in her eyes pure disgust, like I was something diseased. "Please," I gasped, "this is a mistake." The taller officer accidentally slammed my head into the doorframe of the squad car. Stars exploded behind my eyes. "Whoops," he said flatly, then leaned in close to my ear. "We got another one, boys. These college punks think they can get away with anything." As the car pulled away, I caught a glimpse of my building through swelling eyes. People were coming out onto their balconies, pointing. Someone was filming with their phone. It was my last moment as the person I used to be. Everything after would be defined by this accusation. 26 years of building an identity, a reputation, friendships, a future, all erased in a single morning. I spent 3 days in a holding cell before they even let me call someone. The other guys in there found out what I was accused of, thanks to a loudmouth cop, so that was fun. Nothing like getting the love kicked out of you while everyone looks the other way. I called my parents, certain they'd help. My old man was always preaching about family above all else and how blood is thicker than water. What a crock of love that turned out to be. "Dad, you gotta help me, she's lying, I swear to God." "Don't you dare take the Lord's name after what you've done," he interrupted. "Your mother is in tears. 25 years we raised you, and this is how you repay us?" "But Dad, I didn't." "Save it for the judge. Don't call this number again, you're not my son." And he hung up. I sat there staring at the phone like an a-hole. Did my own father just hang up on me? The same guy who bailed my sister out after her 3rd DUI? The same parents who forgave my brother for stealing from Grandma's retirement fund? But me? Guilty until proven innocent. No, scratch that. Guilty even after proven innocent. It didn't matter that I had no record, that I'd never been in trouble a day in my life. All it took was one lie from her, and suddenly I was public enemy number 1. The cops did their due diligence, interviewed her friends, combed through her phone, searched for any shred of evidence that could back up her claims. Guess what? They found nothing because there was nothing to find. One of the detectives even pulled me aside in private, voice low, almost apologetic. "Between you and me, I think she's full of it, but we had to follow procedure." Great. So they knew I was innocent, but I still had to sit in a cell for 7 days while my name got dragged through the mud. 7 days of cold concrete, shitty food, and guards who looked at me like I was some kind of monster. 7 days of wondering if my life was over because of her. Then, just like that, I was released. No charges filed, no trial, just a half-assed "you're free to go." I thought that would be the end of it, thought I could go back to my life, maybe salvage what was left. Boy, was I wrong. Because when I stepped outside, the real nightmare was just beginning. Once I got out, I found that all our mutual friends blocked me instantly. My Instagram and Facebook blew up with death threats from strangers. Someone doxed me and posted my work address online. I got fired from my job the same day. HR called it a liability issue. 3 years at that company, employee of the month twice, and they couldn't even look me in the eye when they handed me my last check. I got back to my apartment to find the locks changed. The landlord left a note saying he didn't rent to people like me, and my stuff was in garbage bags by the dumpster. Half of it was already stolen. I called my buddy, the one who was supposed to be my ride or die since 3rd grade, straight to voicemail. I sent him a simple text, "Me. Jake. You know me. Please tell me you don't believe this." The typing bubble popped up, then disappeared, then popped up again. I held my breath. "Jake, look man, I don't know what to believe, but I can't be associated with this. I have a wife and a daughter, I can't risk it." "Me? You think I'm a danger to your kid?" No response, just blocked, like 3 years of friendship never existed. I called a former coworker, someone I considered a friend. The second she picked up, she just sighed. "You need to stop contacting people. No one wants to be part of this." Then she hung up. I texted my cousin who lived nearby. Read receipt, no response. It was like I had social leprosy. Nobody wanted to get within 10 feet of me. The accusations spread through our town like wildfire, each retelling getting more graphic and horrific. My university sent me a chipper little email, "Dear student, due to recent allegations, you are barred from campus until further notice. Please do not attempt to enter university grounds or attend in-person classes. Assignments may be submitted electronically. Failure to comply will result in involvement of law enforcement. Have a nice day. Office of Student Affairs." Have a nice day? Seriously? Even the grocery store clerk who'd always flirted with me now flinched when I walked in. The barista at my regular coffee shop accidentally spilled my drink 3 times before I got the message. Also, my dentist's office mysteriously had no openings for the next 6 months. I was dead to everyone. Only nobody had the decency to actually kill me. The only person who didn't completely bail was my roommate from freshman year. Let's just call him the only decent human being in that a-hole town. "You can crash on my couch for a week," he said. "My parents don't know, and they can't find out." A week turned into 2. I was burning through what little savings I had, applying for jobs nobody would give me. My roommate would bring home leftovers from his restaurant job, snuck in like contraband. "Dude, you got to leave town," he finally said one night. "People aren't going to forget. They don't care about the truth." He was right. Even though I was technically cleared, everyone treated me like I got away with murder. I overheard some guys at the gas station, yeah, that's him, the rapist who got off on a technicality. Got home to find my car keyed with the word "Arus" across the hood, real subtle. The next day my roommate drove me to a bus station 2 towns over, slipped me $600, his entire paycheck. "Don't tell me where you're going," he said. "Seriously, don't contact me for a while. They're watching your socials. Just disappear, man." We did this awkward half hug, and then he was gone. I stood there with a duffel bag containing everything I owned in the world, which wasn't much. I bought a ticket to the farthest city the bus would take me, ended up in this shitty industrial town, working the night shift at a meat processing plant, the kind of job where they don't ask questions as long as you can lift 50 pounds repeatedly without dying. My apartment had more roaches than square footage. I slept on an air mattress that slowly deflated throughout the night, waking up basically on concrete every morning, showered with a garden hose rigged to the bathroom sink because the actual shower was full of black mold. I told myself I could handle it. The poverty, the shitty job, the isolation. It all sucked, but I could survive. I'd claw my way back up. But at that point, I'd never realized how much of my identity was tied to other people until every single connection was severed. I developed this constant, gnawing anxiety anytime I had to interact with strangers. Would they recognize me? Had they seen those social media posts? The character assassination had been so thorough that I'd catch myself wondering if maybe I was the monster they all claimed. Maybe I'd blacked out, done something horrible and couldn't remember. The gaslighting worked its way into my brain until I started doubting my own memories. I lost 30 pounds that first month. Couldn't sleep for more than an hour without jolting awake from nightmares, started pulling out my own hair when stressed, developed a bald spot I had to hide. I tried therapy once, But when the therapist Googled me during our session, I saw her do it. Her entire demeanor changed. She referred me to someone else who mysteriously never had openings. Even strangers could sense something was wrong with me. I developed this hunched posture, avoiding eye contact, flinching at sudden movements. I looked guilty, even though I wasn't. All because of a fault I didn't do. The hardest part wasn't the poverty or the shitty job or even the isolation. It was not being able to be me anymore. So, I changed everything. My hair, my clothes, even the way I walked. I grew a beard, started telling people my name was something else entirely. Every morning I'd practice introducing myself with my new name in the mirror, trying to make it sound natural. Hi, I'm not the name my parents gave me, not the person I used to be. I became paranoid about social media, deleted every account, changed my email, my phone number, lived like a fugitive even though I hadn't done anything wrong. The nightmares were the worst. I'd dream I was back in that cell, but this time they were convicting me. Or I'd dream I was at a party and everyone was whispering, pointing. Sometimes I dreamed my ex was there, laughing. One night, I got so low I stood on the roof of my building for an hour, just looking down at the pavement. What stopped me wasn't some epiphany about life being precious. It was spite, pure, burning spite. I wasn't going to let her win. I wasn't going to let my parents be right about me being worthless. The next day, I applied to a culinary program in another state. Why cooking? Because it was the opposite of my old life plan. Because nobody from my past would think to look for me in a kitchen. Because I needed to create something instead of just surviving. It meant more student loans on top of the ones I already couldn't pay. It meant working 2 jobs, prep cook by day, dishwasher by night, while taking classes. I was getting maybe 4 hours of sleep a night, surviving on energy drinks and pure stubbornness, but for the first time in months, I had a purpose beyond just existing. Culinary school was brutal. 12-hour days on your feet, instructors who made Gordon Ramsay look like a teddy bear, and classmates half my age who'd never experienced anything worse than their parents taking away their BMW. But I witching loved it. When you're focused on not cutting your finger off while speed chopping onions, there's no room in your brain for self-pity. I kept to myself mostly, no dating, no parties, minimal small talk, just work, study, sleep, repeat. My apartment was slightly better than the Roach Motel. This one only had silverfish and the occasional mouse. After graduation, I landed a job at this upscale restaurant. Nothing fancy, just prep work and sometimes handling the grill when the main chef needed a smoke break. But it was a foot in the door. The head chef noticed I was always first to arrive, last to leave. "You cooking to live, or living to cook?" he asked one night. "Cooking to live," I answered honestly. He nodded, like that was the right answer. "Good. The ones who say they live to cook are usually the first to burn out. You got something to prove?" Something like that. "We'll prove it by making this hollandaise sauce not taste like yellow snot." A few months later, he promoted me to sous chef. The pay bump meant I could move to an apartment where the bathroom didn't double as the kitchen. I started sleeping better, cut back on the drinking. That's when I saw the ad. A prestigious hotel chain looking for chefs for their international locations, room and board included. A fresh start in a new country. I applied without expecting much. My resume was decent but nothing special. But they needed someone willing to relocate immediately to Southeast Asia, and apparently, nobody else wanted to drop everything and move across the planet on 2 weeks' notice, except me. I had nothing to drop, and nowhere that felt like home anyway. 2 days later, I got a video interview. They seemed desperate. Tourism was booming post-COVID, and they couldn't staff up fast enough. My culinary school credentials looked better on paper than they were in reality, and I talked up my experience. Fake it till you make it, right? A week later, I was on a plane with everything I owned stuffed into 2 checked bags. 16 hours of flying later, I stumbled off the plane into humidity so thick it felt like breathing soup. Some dude holding a sign with my name on it, spelled wrong, drove me 2 hours to the resort in a van with no AC. I was so jet-lagged, I barely registered anything until I woke up the next morning, drew back the curtains, and holy love. The international resort was like working on another planet. Palatial buildings, pristine beaches, guests spending more on a single meal than I made in a month. My living quarters were nicer than any place I'd lived since, well, ever. The staff was mostly locals with a few internationals like me. We lived, ate, and worked together, a mismatched family of misfits. I tried keeping my guard up, but it's hard to stay distant when 15 people are teaching you their language and sneaking you their grandma's recipes. There was this one server from the hotel restaurant. She'd bring me weird local fruits to try during breaks, laughing at my reactions, started teaching me phrases in her language, most of which, I later discovered, were slightly obscene. She was patient in a way I didn't deserve. I was still jumpy, still flinched if someone moved too suddenly, still suspicious of kindness. The first time she casually touched my arm during conversation, I recoiled like I'd been burned. "You've been hurt before," she said simply, not a question. I nodded. "Me too," she replied, then changed the subject. That was it. No pushing for details, no amateur psychoanalysis, just acknowledgement. We started hanging out after shifts, just walking on the beach, talking about nothing important. She'd tell me about growing up in her village, I'd tell her about culinary school disasters, carefully edited versions of our lives. The first time she invited me to her family's home for dinner, I panicked and made up some excuse. The second time, I reluctantly agreed. Her father grilled me like I was applying to marry his daughter, which, to be fair, is where things were heading, though I didn't know it yet. It was the first time in years I'd been in a family home. It hurt in a way I hadn't expected, a reminder of what I'd lost, but it was also healing, seeing that families could actually be supportive, that parents could love without conditions. Slowly, very slowly, I started to let down my walls, started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I deserved something good. After dating for 2 years, we got married in a ceremony that blended her traditions with American ones. Her family went all out, while my side of the aisle was pretty empty. Just a few CO workers and my old roommate, who I'd finally reconnected with. He'd flown 20 hours to be there, the only connection to my past that didn't feel poisonous. "You look happy, man," he said during the reception, like actually happy, not just faking it. I realized he was right. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped just surviving and started living again. Anyway, about a year after we got married, my wife got pregnant with twins, because apparently, I can't do anything halfway. When the doctor told us, I nearly passed out. Twins meant double everything, even double the "oh love, what if I love this up" anxiety. At that moment, all my dad fears came rushing. What if they found out my past? What if my parents discovered them? But the first time I held my son and daughter, these tiny, perfect humans who somehow didn't hate me yet, something clicked into place. I made a silent promise that they would never know abandonment, that they would never doubt they were loved. We bought a house in a good neighborhood. I got promoted to executive chef. My wife started her own business importing specialty foods. The twins grew into these amazing little people with her smile and my stubbornness. Life was actually genuinely good, not perfect. We had normal problems like bills and teething babies and work stress. But they were normal problems, not the soul-crushing weight I'd carried for so long. Then, last night, I opened the front door to find my father standing there, after 8 years of silence, 8 years of becoming someone new. He looked old, gray hair, wrinkles, the slight stoop of someone carrying invisible weight. He tried to smile, started to speak. I slammed the door so hard the hinges rattled. Behind me, my son started crying, confused by my reaction. I took him to his bedroom, hands shaking as I tried to comfort him, called for my wife to bring our daughter inside from the garden. My father kept knocking. I broke down completely, sobbing in a way I hadn't since those first horrible days after the accusation. My wife held me, then went to answer the door herself. I could hear her from the other room. Not the words, just the fierce, protective tone, my defender when I couldn't defend myself. Eventually, I told her to let him in. I needed to face this demon once and for all. He sat awkwardly on our couch, eyeing the family photos on the wall. I remained standing, arms crossed. "How did you find me?" I asked flatly. He sighed. "It's complicated. I hired a private investigator after I found out the truth." "What truth?" "About 6 months ago, your ex's phone broke, screen shattered completely. She brought it to the store, where I work part-time since retiring, asked if we could recover the data before replacing it." I raised an eyebrow. "You still work at that cell phone repair place?" He nodded. "Just weekends." Anyway, I recognized her name on the work order. I shouldn't have done this, but I accessed her texts while transferring her data. "That's a federal crime, isn't it?" "Probably," he admitted, "but I saw a conversation with some guy named Mike. They were arguing about guilt." "Show me," I demanded. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos, handed it to me. Screenshots of text messages. "Mike, I can't keep doing this. Every time I see your post about being a survivor, I feel sick." "Her, What do you want me to do? Admit I made it all up? Destroy my life now? Mike, you destroyed his life. He didn't do anything to you. It was years ago. He's probably fine. Mike, love, his family disowned him. He lost everything. That's not my fault. Mike, it is literally your fault. I scrolled through more screenshots, dozens of messages where she acknowledged lying, where this Mike person, presumably the guy she cheated with, was wrestling with guilt while she made excuses. Why did you wait? I asked. These are from almost a year ago. I confronted her, he said, voice cracking. She denied it at first, then broke down, admitted everything. Said she'd panicked when you caught her cheating, and it spiraled. And it took you 8 years to find me? It wasn't easy. You changed your name, moved overseas. The PI cost me most of my retirement savings, and even then, he only narrowed it down to this region. I've been going hotel to hotel for weeks. How'd you find this address? He looked down sheepishly. Facebook. Your old roommate posted about visiting you last year. Tagged the resort. Not your exact location, but enough to start asking around. The pieces fit, but I wasn't ready to believe him yet. What happened to her after you confronted her? I told your mother. She contacted the police with the evidence, but they said it was too late to press charges. Your ex's parents found out though, cut her off completely. I felt nothing at this news, no satisfaction, no vindication, just emptiness. Why now? I asked. After all this time? His eyes welled up. Because I was wrong, because I failed you when you needed me most. Because I want to see my son again before I die. I said nothing. Your mother doesn't know I'm here, he said, but she misses you, we both do. 8 witching years, 8 years of silence when I needed them most. 8 years to find the truth, 8 years too late. As I sat there, looking at this pathetic old man, I realized something important. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need their love or their acceptance or their forgiveness. I had built something beautiful from the ashes they left me in. I had a real family now, one based on choice and love and standing together when things get hard. You need to leave, I told him, and don't come back. He started to protest, but something in my eyes must have stopped him. He stood up, looking defeated. Can I at least see my grandchildren before I go? I laughed, not a happy sound. They're not your grandchildren. You don't get to abandon your child and then claim his children. That's not how this works. As he walked to the door, I felt a weight lifting. The ghost of my old life finally exorcised. My wife came downstairs after putting the twins to bed. Are you okay? I pulled her close. Yeah, I think I finally am. All I could think about was what my father told me before he left. He told me about what happened to my ex after her lies fell apart. Apparently, when he confronted her with the evidence, she panicked and confessed everything to mutual friends. Word spread fast. The accounting firm fired her for ethical concerns after clients started asking questions. The boss's nephew's wife divorced him and took him for everything. My ex's perfect reputation imploded. Turns out she'd been manipulating people for years, and once one lie cracked, the whole facade shattered. Last my father heard, her religious parents flipped out when they learned about the cheating and cut her off completely, kicked her out of the house. Her social media went dark after too many former friends called her out publicly. Karma's a witch, I guess. But honestly, I felt nothing hearing this. No satisfaction, no vindication. She just didn't matter to me anymore. She's homeless now, couch-surfed with increasingly distant acquaintances until everyone got sick of her. Apparently, she'd been spotted at the bus station with a cardboard sign, looking strung out. Part of me wondered if she ever thought about the symmetry. How she'd made me homeless years ago, and now she was experiencing the same fate. But even that felt hollow. Her suffering didn't undo mine, it didn't give me back those years. Some people say forgiveness sets you free. Maybe that's true for some, but for me, freedom came from building something so good that the past became irrelevant, from creating the family I deserved instead of chasing the one that threw me away. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And I chose to become a man my children will never have reason to doubt.